The hero Harold stands ready, sword drawn against an unseen threat. A monstrous creature lunges its maw wide with terrifying fang. Harold grits his teeth, bracing against the beast's powerful assault. He dodges his foot, barely missing the creature's snapping jaw. The monster roars in fury, claws slashing through the air. Scene shifts to a quiet, peaceful village street. Harold sheathes his sword, telling the relieved villagers they are safe. The defeated monster lies still. Thankfully, no one was hurt. A title card introduces him. Harold, the current hero. Villagers gather around their faces, filled with awe and gratitude. They immediately bombard him with requests for help and repair. Harold smiles brightly, agreeing to every single task without hesitation. A flashback reveals he inherited the hero title in peacetime. Exhausted, he collapses after a day of Wuchao's selfless labor. Villagers gossip, surprised to hear the hero recently got married. They wonder if his demanding work affects his personal life. Harold cheerfully insists hell work even harder to improve. Hez shown tirelessly reinforcing the village's wooden defensive barrier. He reports the monster wards have been repaired and upgraded. A villager mentions his mother asked him to build something in the yard. Another directs him to redo a section of the defense. Harold forces a smile, hiding his fatigue as he agrees. Onlookers worry, noting he never rests, using magic to keep going. His job done, he heads to the next town, more requests piling up. Riding away, he muses that being a hero is just tax-funded fame. The hero looks determined, ready for another day. He stretches at dawn, psyching himself up. Then he sees someone collapsed on the path ahead. A hero must not show weakness, he reminds himself. He notices a strange light from a nearby house. The door creaks open on its own. An elf named Yona greets him, startling him. Hez shocked, remembering the strict rules against fraternization. Yona invites him inside, away from the cold. She mentions she made something despite it being unusual. A full steaming meal is laid out on the table. Hez stunned. Yona cooked this human-style food for him. He thanks her, deeply moved by the warm meal. Next, he wonders how long it's been since someone cooked for him. Yona watches him, her expression soft and unreadable. She leans in very close, asking how it tastes. He nervously praises the rich soup and juicy meat. Yona smiles, relieved he enjoys her cooking. His flustered, his heart pounding in his chest. The rule flashes in his mind. Heroes must not form attachment. He questions why the gods would put him in this position. For a moment, he realizes this feels different, like more than just duty. He looks at Yona, a new understanding dawning. Suddenly, he accepts that what they have is real. He decides to embrace this forbidden connection, consequences be damned. The story opens with a title card. This marriage is a fake. A sacred book, the Simon Crimson Codex, is revealed, holding a dire prophecy. The prophecy foretells the world's destruction, but also a way to avoid it. After a meal, the demon girl tells the flustered hero to rest. The hero Harold looks up, startled as she calls his name. She suddenly pokes his cheeks, surprising him completely. There she giggles, explaining she's just following the script for their act. Harold blushes, furiously stammering in response to her teasing. She presents freshly laundered clothes, playing the perfect wife role. He thinks to himself how human and adorable Yona seem. A thought bubble wishes this were a real happy newlywed life. Harold scolds himself, feeling unworthy of Yona's kindi. He recalls they married only to fulfill the book's conditions and save the world. Yona watches him, a small knowing smile on her lip. She suddenly hugs him from behind, calling his name sweetly. Harold is completely frozen, his face burning with a blush. Yona looks at him closely, asking if it's okay to sleep like the Harold panics, remembering the hero must not indulge in pleasure. He scrambles away, apologizing if he made her uncomfortable. Inside him, he nervously wonders if this was part of the book's instruction. Yona smiles, calling it normal physical contact for a married couple. Harold questions if this is normal for a loving couple feeling conflicted. Yona looks concerned, worried their act is hindering their quest progress. Harold admits he feels resistant to the performance despite knowing it's fake. Yona turns away quietly, questioning if it's all just an act to him. The lead trips, apologizing profusely for a clumsy first meeting. Lead looks flustered, realizing they misspoke. The lead nervously explains they're not used to such kinyi. Demon girl looks uncurious and slightly concerned. She wonders aloud if the hero is struggling. The lead panics, insisting they're fine and trying to stop her. Demon girl softly calls the lead by name. A gentle hand reaches out to pat the lead's head. She comforts the lead, saying this isn't for fun. Then she explains it's grooming for the hero's daily effort. The lead blushes, silently accepting the head pat. Lead thinks she treats him like a child. A flashback shows a young boy being given a hero staff. A voice tells him his father abandoned his duty. The boy is instructed to live for others without selfishness. Back in the present, the lead's eyes show old pain. The demon girl's hand gently strokes his hair. Lead leans into her touch, wanting this forever. He thinks, I'm glad it's you, Yona. Suddenly, a strange book with an eye appear. The lead and the demon girl are shocked by its arrival. Book flips open on its own with a rustle. A quest is declared complete, showing weakness to your partner. The book instructs them to nurture their bond at this pace. Lead notes the later pages are sealed a new mystery. Harold flinches, clutching the mysterious book tightly. Yona reaches for his hand, whispering softly. Her eyes widen with sudden realization. She promises to guard the dangerous book safely. Harold calls her name, sensing something's wrong. Their hands suddenly intertwine with startling force. An intimate moment catches Harold completely off guard. Yona leans closer, her smile turning mischievous. Harold's face burns with confusion and panic. She straddles him, dismissing the book entirely. Yona whispers she's not afraid anymore. Her fingers trace his neck, leaving him stunned. Fangs gleaming, she purrs for him to relax. Harold shouts her name, trapped beneath her. Claws gently graze skin. She insists nothing's wrong. Blushing, she reminds him they're married now. She teases that heroes are men too, right? Yona smirks, claiming she can handle anything rough. Harold stammers, completely overwhelmed by her advance. He desperately tries pushing her away. Yona laughs, gleefully declaring she's taking him. Suddenly, magic erupts. Yona's expression shifts to shock. She collapses. The book declares a major violation. Harold screams that these rules were never written. The iBook proclaims God's rules are absolute. Harold catches Yona as she collapses, the book's magic overwhelming her. Yona's eyes flutter shut, mumbling incoherently as consciousness slips away. Harold panics, desperately asking where she's hurt, his voice cracking. Yona suddenly gasps awake, eyes wide with shock and confusion. She stammers apologies, face burning red, clearly mortified by what happened. Harold frantically denies anything inappropriate occurred, waving his hands defensively. Yona blushes deeper, asking if he's truly okay with her being this forward. Harold suggests they be vulnerable with each other instead of hiding. Relief washes over Yona's face as she admits she's glad it's him. Harold's expression softens, touched by her genuine word. He echoes her sentiment, confessing he feels the same way. Under the stars, they make a solemn vow to save the world together. Dawn breaks with birds singing on the rooftop, signaling a new day. A gentle voice rouses Harold from sleep, calling his name softly. Yona shakes him awake, teasing him about being a sleepyhead. Harold stirs, groggily confused by her touch near his face. Yona greets him with a radiant smile and warm affection. A sudden crash shatters the peaceful morning moment. The magical book announces his quest is complete, startling both of them. Yona admits she found his sleeping expression endearing. Harold flushes with embarrassment, overwhelmed by the situation. A title card marks the third morning of their new life together. Harold stares at the lavish spread, moved nearly to tear. He hasn't seen such a feast in decades. Yona explains her effort. Yona beams proudly as Harold praises her delicious, spicy cooking. Yona explains she learned cooking from library books, not family. Harold savors the meal, wondering about her distant mountain home. A flashback shows Harold being told he's the new hero, the decree. He must marry the Demon King's daughter. Harold processes this shocking arranged marriage requirement. Yona smiles warmly, unaware of his inner turmoil. She asks about meal preferences, breaking the tense silence. Harold offers to cook, next surprising her completely. He proposes dividing household chores with a detailed chart. Harold laughs, insisting equal partnership makes for smooth living. Yona suggests listing tasks and setting small quest goal. She asks whose idea this organization really. Harold is caught off guard by her question. A voice notes, fairness matters, but world's answers differ. Harold sweats, wondering if he made a mistake. Yona asks what he puts on fried egg. Harold stares at the egg in confusion. He nervously guesses salt as the topping. Yona asks what he thinks her preference. Harold guesses sauce, still bewildered. Yona blushes and reveals she uses wasabi. A mountain of wasabi covers the fried egg. Yona says she trusts only him with this secret. She confesses their marriage feels real to her. Harold reflects that everyone's tastes are different. Yona suggests they properly get to know each other. Harold is stunned, whispering her name in disbelief. He smiles, asking if she sees him as himself. Yona beams brightly, clasping her hands in excitement. A transition shows someone gripping a wooden beam tightly. Yona reveals her secret library filled with treasured collection. Harold spots something shocking among her displayed item. Hez stunned, discovering this massive underground hidden space. More merchandise and character collectibles fill the room. Harold discovers his own face on hero merchandise. Yona apologizes, revealing she owns rare first edition. He stares at a romance novel featuring his Lycaene. Yona explains heroes shouldn't read such inappropriate material. She learned human customs from these very book. Harold nervously acknowledges the questionable content she's describing. A dramatic scene shows him surrounded by girls with bread. Yona scolds him for mishandling her precious book. She admits admiring human culture since childhood. Her peers never understood her fascination with these story. Harold blushes, overwhelmed by the intimate scene unfolding. A close-up reveals butter melting on fresh bread. Yona invites him to share his own interests now. He struggles to identify what he actually enjoys. Yona admits she was too embarrassed to show everything. Harold reveals he doesn't mind showing off either. Harold admits he has no real hobbies or interests. He jokes someone should teach him what he like. Yona tilts her head, sparkles dancing around her curiously. She pauses, reflecting on recent happy memories together. A quiet moment, Yona whispers, "Right now," softly. Harold blushes, confessing he enjoys talking with her. Yona's eyes widen, genuinely touched by his word. Their feet stand apart on the wooden floor. Harold suddenly panics, realizing what he just admitted. He stammers desperately, trying to backtrack his confession. His face freezes in complete shock and disbelief. Yona blushes, intensely overwhelmed by his honesty. Steam rises from Yona as she overheats from embarrassment. Harold shouts, asking if she meant right now. Yona explains his words, caught her completely off guard. She turns away, muttering he must not be interested. Yona glances back with a shy, hopeful smile. She grins warmly, suggesting they discover things together. The magical book suddenly glows with its watching eye. New text appears, "Share what you like together." Harold kneels in the forest, sword planted firmly. Villagers rush over, asking if he defeated the monster. The threat is neutralized. Villagers express their relief. Harold notes monsters appearing here is extremely unusual. Villagers nervously insist they did nothing wrong, confronting him. Villagers busy preparing for the upcoming harvest festival. Harold works hard, hearing the festival will be grand. Yona smiles warmly, suggesting they find things together. Harold sits alone, lost in troubled thought. A childhood friend suddenly calls out to Harold. Two girls face off, first wife versus childhood friend. The mysterious eye-marked book holds ancient secret. Book was discovered deep within the demon realm. Representatives from both worlds must unite through marriage. Magical circles glow as their hands make contact. Harold and Yona arrive at the human festival together. Yona pulls him eagerly through the bustling crowd. She's stunned he invited her on a date. Harold stammers while Yona beams with excitement. He grows flustered as she watches him closely. A mysterious hand reaches out unexpectedly. They stand together, observing something silently. Yona grins mischievously, holding something tightly. Harold panics when their hands accidentally touch. They walk together on their first outing, fingers intertwine. They've been married 1 week. Yona's eyes sparkle, promising to reveal everything today. She points to the great tree shrine nearby. Harold explains the festival's ancient three-god history. Yona asks innocently about Maiden's sacrifice ritual. Yona looks surprised as townsfolk gather, noting no one seems shocked by her presence. Harold muses that real demons are just old stories, now smiling faintly. Yona questions why the hero system still exists, mentioning tomorrow's festival preparation. Harold remembers the magical book, suggesting they check its rules first. He asks if they can rely on each other. Yona agrees it's fine. A cheerful girl with pigtails calls out to Harold from across the street. Harold's eyes widen in shock as he recognizes her, whispering eerie. Iris runs over, excited for tomorrow's main festival and asking about his shop. She playfully insists he must be free given his large size and free time. Another girl apologizes for the interruption, asking who the companion. Harold introduces Yona, explaining she's from the same small village. Yona looks on with a nostalgic expression, recalling her own hometown. Iris mentions tomorrow is work, but today could be another chance. Harold hesitates, asking if she means guarding the child again today. He looks down, sweating slightly as he prepares to explain something. Harold introduces Yona, formally stating she is his wife. Iris stares in stunned silence, her eyes wide with shock. She questions the marriage, completely taken aback by the new. Harold scratches his cheek, apologizing for the late reveal due to circumstance. Iris processes this, muttering about his previous behavior not matching this new. Yona bristles, defensively asking what's wrong with her clothes and horn. Iris retorts, declaring she absolutely won't accept this situation. The scene shifts to a quiet table with coffee and donut. Iris laughs in relief, realizing it's not a love marriage after all. The tension dissolves as they share a moment of understanding over refreshment. Harold and Yona sit with Iris' tension thick in the air. Iris apologizes, but Yona's annoyed expression says otherwise. Harold sweats, trying to smooth things over awkwardly. Iris smirks, thinking she still has a chance. She bluntly asks if Yona is truly a demon. Yona smiles sweetly, introducing herself politely. But she corrects Iris, saying it's Yona, not Yona. Iris reacts with shock, yelling about Harold's name. She dismisses demons as ancient history, waving it off. Yona refuses to answer, citing confidential matter. Harold notices Iris acting strangely today. Close-up shows Iris blushing, flustered. Harold holds her hand, thinking Shez endured a lot. He checks her temperature, concerned she might be feverish. Iris panics, pulling away as Yona watch. Harold and Yona are stunned by her sudden outburst. Iris clings to Harold, shouting she can't trust him. Yona coldly states demons are evil, not comrade. She questions if the Demon King's daughter isn't Dangeroo. Patrons gossip, calling them a hero and demon. Yona's lips part, saying that Harold and Iris stare at her waiting. Iris' face shows shock, eyes wide. Yona looks serious, her expression unreadable. Close up on Yona's intense eyes, leaving us hanging. The tavern patrons debate morality, questioning what's truly right. Harold reflects on his monster-fighting duties, seeking understanding. Yona listens thoughtfully, trying to grasp their world. Yona's eyes soften, moved by Harold's honest word. A mysterious pendant glints, hinting at hidden significance. Iris freezes, stunned by something she just heard. Iris shouts, desperately demanding Harold understand her feeling. She presses him harder, needing answers about his thought. Harold stands bewildered, completely missing her obvious hint. Iris nervously asks about other cute bright girl. Her face flushes as she nearly confesses wanting romance. Harold panics, denying he'd ever date his sister. A dramatic shockwave ripples through the tense atmosphere. Iris' face crumbles, horrified by his oblivious response. Harold's embarrassing secret gets brutally exposed to everyone. Iris screams and bolts, fleeing in utter humiliation. Harold stands confused, asking what just happened here. Yona speaks up, her cheeks flushed with emotion. Harold realizes her words came from genuine sincerity. Yona lectures him about careless, thoughtless behavior toward others. Harold's head spins, overwhelmed by the chaotic situation. Yona suggests they chase after Iris together now. Harold's eyes widen in shock at her proposal. Yona asks if he's okay with pursuing Eri. She warns that exploiting his kindness would be foolish. Harold laughs, trying to play off his earlier confession. He admits he genuinely likes Yona's unique trait. Yona looks up, a soft-touch smile forming. Shiz, completely flustered, overheating from his honesty. The public confession makes everyone around them gossip. Harold panics, realizing the trouble has caused. A sudden ominous shadow falls over the town. A villager bursts in, shouting about monsters in the street. A spiky, dark creature looms over a building. A young girl with dark hair watches from below. She stands alone in a quiet, empty alley. The girl looks down, a sad expression on her face. She mutters to herself, calling herself an idiot. A text box reveals she always thought Harold was her. Flashback shows a younger Harold sitting with the girl. He tells her heroes only think about training. Young Harold vows to marry her someday. Back to the present, the girl blushes at the memory. She questions if she was just a sister to him. Harold and the girl sense something turning suddenly. A pack of monstrous wolves attacks. Harold leaps to defend. The young girl screams in terror as a wolf lunge. Harold's face hardens with grim determination. A close-up shows the girl's eye wide with fear. Harold charges, thinking has fallen for her accepting it. A girl covers her face, reeling from the shocking revelation. A low-angle shot shows someone walking down a narrow street. A girl with a medal looks up, utterly bewildered. She screams as a dark shape suddenly rushes past. The girl shouts in alarm, pointing at something unseen. Two shadowy, spiky monsters with glowing eyes appear. The girl panics, realizing the danger in the town. A voice cries out, questioning why monsters are here. The girl is knocked off her feet by the impact. She struggles to pull a sword from its sheath. A close-up shows her determined, blushing face. She stands protectively, telling the monsters to stop. A massive, monstrous shape looms above her. She cries out for help, calling a specific name. A figure with a sword rushes in to defend her. A close-up of wide, shocked eyes watches the scene. The rescuer shouts, asking if she is unharmed. Girl sits on the ground, dazed and confused. The rescuer blushes, relieved she is okay. He leaps into action, sword drawn against the threat. Next, he warns someone named Iris to flee from the number. A girl with pigtails looks up in shock. A massive attack crashes down near her. A new powerful figure with horns points forward. She looks on with a serious questioning expression. The animal-eared character urgently tells Harold to take Iris away. She suddenly declares they're going to jump, startling the other. For a moment, she leaps from the rooftop carrying the other character. They arc through the air toward a lower building. A hand reaches out desperately as they fall. They land safely. She remarks this spot is secure for now. The other character stares, shocked she's a real demon. A close-up shows her blushing, thinking about Harold. There on a rooftop, she calls out to Yona, a tight shot on her flushed, emotional face. Iris thanks them and apologizes for the trouble. The demon girl looks on with a thoughtful expression. She tells Iris she's an honest person. Walking away, she asks if Iris remembers what she said. Iris blushes, stammering an apology. She suggests Iris might be hiding her true nature. The demon girl blushes, saying that guess might be right. Iris' eye widens in shock, uttering what? The demon girl excitedly suggests they go help Harold. She smiles, telling the kitten to be a good girl. With a playful cry, she dives off the rooftop. Iris panics, yelling about the sudden spike in tension. Harold looks stressed as the demon girl bounces toward him. She laughs, asking if this is the punishment venue. Harold screams in utter shock at the chaotic scene. Yona playfully flirts, calling Harold her precious monster master. 3 shadowy creatures with glowing eyes emerge from darkness. Harold watches in confusion as the monsters suddenly flee. Yona grabs his arm, demanding he wait before chasing them. A villager warns that the town cannot survive more destruction. Someone grips their weapon tightly, making a difficult decision. Yona blushes, asking Harold to admire her excited demon form. She clings to him affectionately, hearts floating everywhere around them. Yona confesses she gets thrilled whenever she sees blood. She teases that anyone would want to be spoiled by her. Harold desperately tries maintaining rationality as his mind spirals. Yona presses closer, demanding he look only at her. Her eyes fill with tears, asking why he ignores her. Harold panics, realizing he accidentally made her cry. Yona trembles at the edge, overwhelmed by emotion. He pushes her away, insisting they absolutely cannot do thee. She clings desperately, calling his name with desperate longing. Suddenly, Yona snaps back to sanity, shocking them both. She realizes what just happened and turns mortified. Yona screams and bolts, fleeing in complete embarrassment. A villager rushes to Harold, asking about the monster. The crowd cheers, praising the hero for saving everyone. Another building collapses, the destruction continuing unabated. Yona hides behind a wall, hands over her mouth in shock. Festival torches flicker ominously as something lurks nearby. The festival continues with Harold and the dark-haired girl relieved. Masked festival goers dance under the stars, adding to the eerie mood. The dark-haired girl looks concerned, asking what happened. Group discusses the festival and the recent monster attack. She says she hasn't given up despite the chow. The pigtailed girl looks on, stating they looked good fighting together. Harold thinks to himself, telling Iris to do her best. The group wonders what the Royal Institution's inspection was about. They discuss the 100-year cycle of the sacred tree's magic. The dark-haired girl jokes about preparing for the next attack in a century. Harold's eyes widen in sudden realization or shock. Yona looks down, blushing as someone calls her name. Yona stammers, addressing Iris nervously in the street. Yona holds out a bag, saying she found it. Iris is relieved, thanking her for finding the lost item. Iris notices a crest on the bag, asking about the love swordsman applique. Iris panics, realizing her secret interest is exposed. She shushes Yona, horrified a fellow fan is so close. Iris drags Yona away, worrying about Harold discovering her secret. They whisper, intensely confirming the novel's subject must stay hidden. Harold looks confused, overhearing they have the banned first edition. The two girls, blushing, invite each other to a fan meeting. Harold smiles, glad to see them getting along. A mysterious figure watches Harold from above as he walks. A masked festival goer observes silently, hinting at unseen watcher. A peaceful town sleeps under stars, a massive tree watching over everything. The horned girl chats with a man, calling their correspondence war. She grins widely, teasing that his favorite heroine turned out wrong. It speaks formally, pledging itself as a servant in human guise. She waves cheerfully, wishing him well with a knowing smile. Harold walks up stone steps toward a building where she waits. She touches her lips, suddenly flustered, remembering an ungiven key. A tired horse complains through thought bubbles about working on a holiday. She pets the horse, gently asking if it wants time off. Carrying water buckets, she reflects on how fulfilling daily life feels. A bucket splashes down into the dark well below. She hauls water, thinking Harold appreciates everything she does for him. A hand reaches toward a strange fish-shaped object on a desk. She sits at her workstation worrying about quest checks without Harold. Reading documents, she fantasizes about baths and massages to convince him. She blushes, realizing her requests might be too forward to approve. With stern eyes, she demands proper clearance before proceeding further. Her eye twitches with irritation, a ticking sound filling silence. A voice calls from behind a locked door announcing the lady's arrival. She peeks cautiously through the door, sensing something unusual outside. A wolf-like creature sits patiently on the stone path, waiting. She scolds the creature, begging it to stop that form before anyone see. The wolf creature closes its eyes, calm despite her panicked warning. Harold smiles awkwardly, announcing he's heading out to visit Yona. Another woman demands to see blood relations, shocking the horned girl completely. A composed demon guardian, Yat, is formally introduced with a title card. Yat explains she doesn't want Harold to see her four-legged form. The horned girl asks what Yat had requested from her. Yat silently hands over a list or note to the girl. The girl happily receives a cart overflowing with fresh produce. Yat instructs her to catch fish herself next time. A close-up shows Yat looking emotional, whispering Ojo-sama. The horned girl asks how long Yat plans to stay here. Yat questions the meaning behind her sudden inquiry. Yat reveals the Demon King learned she married the hero. A flashback shows a character crying and drinking heavily. The girl expresses her dislike for her father's wild nature. Yat brings up the incident regarding the divine book. An argument erupts about marrying off a daughter. Yat notes the partner being a hero's descendant is a good point. She advises the young lady to return to the demon realm. The young lady calls out Yat's name, looking conflicted. Yat tells her to deal with something first. The scene shifts to a quiet house exterior. Yat looks on with a soft, concerned expression. The young lady is shown digging in the ground with a shovel. She looks up surprised, wearing a casual t-shirt. Yat asks about her current outfit. The girl cheerfully explains it's for reading and exercise. She excitedly reveals she's digging for a natural hot spring. Yat's eyes widen in shock, demanding to know if she's digging for the hero's sake. Yat stands firm with her shovel, refusing to treat the lady like a servant. The horned girl pleads desperately, begging Yat to stop saying such thing. She admits sadly how she's always bowed her head, having no pride left. Yat speaks gently, suggesting there must be another path for her lady. Yat touches her chin thoughtfully, considering the situation carefully. The horned girl declares fiercely that Harold is her husband. Yat's sharp eye glints, refusing to allow anyone to badmouth them. Yat bows, formally excusing herself before speaking frankly. The horned girl narrows her eyes, asking if they're still monitoring her. She accuses them of invading privacy since the Demon Realm Day. Yat explains the father's controlling nature, locking his daughter away. The horned girl shouts angrily, demanding they dig properly right now. Yat questions why the lady would go this far for the hero. The horned girl turns away silently, refusing to answer that question. A close-up shows her lips parting hesitantly, about to confess something. Yat grants special permission, calling it a love banana allowance. Yat tilts her head, confused about what a banana means here. The horned girl explodes in embarrassment, shouting about love banana culture. She clutches her head, admitting they're terrible at expressing affection. Yat reassures her, understanding her anxious and delicate heart. The horned girl blushes, furiously overwhelmed by the intimate conversation. Yat tells her to wait until the synchronization quest complete. The horned girl declares firmly she'll concede if they can't become real spouse. A tense silence hangs as something crucial remains unresolved between them. A voice declares they'll return as adults, hero title irrelevant. Yat vows fiercely she absolutely won't let Harold fall. Someone responds thoughtfully to such devotion. Yat claps excitedly, sparkles surrounding her. A group of demon staff appears in the forest unexpectedly. Yona panics about too many supervisors watching her. Yat offers to craft clothes using magic instead. Yona questions handmade crafts versus magical shortcut. Someone concentrates magic, visualizing the perfect bridal image. A magnificent hot spring structure materializes under sparkling ski. Harold stares shocked at the luxurious onsen Yona created. Harold kneels, thanking Yona for her exhausting help. He asks how she managed it. She explains demon magic expertise. Harold realizes Yona helped guard while everyone was busy. He thanks her, genuinely acknowledging how difficult it was. Yona blushes deeply, softly responding with quiet gratitude. Harold asks if Shez already entered. She says, not yet. Yona leans dangerously close to Harold's face. She whispers, wanting to enter together, just the two of them. Harol's face explodes red with complete shock. Yona stands confidently in her outfit, composed and beautiful. Night falls as they discuss quests and hot spring plan. Yona panics, wildly declaring wives handle everything desperately. Water flows peacefully through bamboo pipes into the spring. Harol relaxes in steam, finally enjoying his hard-earned soak. Harol sits frozen in the hot spring mine, completely blank. He panics, clutching his head as reality crashes down. Harol desperately tries calming himself, repeating, "Relax, relax." He realizes he must confess something to Yona soon. Yona arrives wrapped in a towel, apologizing for waiting. Harol screams, overwhelmed by the sudden, intimate situation. The scene continues with the next story beat. His eyes spin wildly, thinking this is a private bath. They sit together, Harol's face burning red with embarrassment. Yona asks if he's nervous. He admits a little. Harol sighs, admitting the hot spring feels incredibly nice. Yona tells him to look down, pointing at something. She notices a scar on his body, looking concerned. Harol dismisses it as an old wound, nothing beautiful. Yona touches the scar, saying it's very memorable to her. A sparkle appears between them as Harol reacts softly. They relax under the stars, sharing gentle laughter together. Harol asks Yona what kind of day today was. She smiles, saying it was good exercise for both. He wonders aloud if the demon realm has hot spring. Yona confirms demons exist there, kept as pets by some. She mentions wanting a dog as a child, looking nostalgic. Yona softly calls his name, asking him to tell her. They gaze at stars as she asks if he remembers old thing. Harol looks surprised, caught off guard by her question. Yona mentions preparing drinks for their evening together. A door slides open with a soft creaking sound. Yona appears in a towel, shocking Harol completely. Harol sweats nervously at the unexpected situation. Yona cheerfully models her swimsuit with a bright smile. Harol panics, wondering if heroes always get betrayed somehow. The magical book reveals completed romantic quest milestone. Stars twinkle softly outside their window that night. Harol reads by candlelight while Yona sleeps nearby. Yona dozes peacefully as Harol keeps his distance. He flips through the mysterious quest journal curiously. Harol blushes, embarrassed by the bride's duties listed. He cringes while rereading the awkward quest description. Yona sprawls carelessly across the bed in sleep. Harol awkwardly tries waking the sleeping demon girl. He thinks this feels too real for pretending. The quest demands he dream of the demon king's daughter. Someone orders Harol to marry, immediately shocking him. The king calmly denies the request with composure. King jokes about being an angel of love. Harol kneels respectfully before the royal throne. Yona stands beside him holding the quest book. Her eye twitches with sudden sharp realization. Harol discovers Yona's true identity as demon royalty. The king declares the hero extremely important to them. King smiles warmly, recalling Harol's childhood fondly. He praises Harol for marrying such a lovely girl. The king suddenly leans in, whispering a serious secret. Harol panics, shouting for the king to speak up. Harol's mind spins, overwhelmed by this sudden marriage talk. He stammers, realizing the prophecy book was authentic. The king's expression turns stern, warning him not to trust demon. Harol's eyes widen as the king mentions ending their relationship. A tense silence fills the room as the king reaches out. The king cheerfully announces a small ceremony for Yona. Yona stands silently, her internal monologue beginning with I. Harol reflects, realizing marriage is different than he imagined. A bell rings, loudly signaling the start of the ceremony. The scene shifts to the grand outdoor wedding altar. Harol stands stiffly, thinking the ceremony progressed too quickly. Yona glances at him, noting his uncomfortable expression. Harol panics, internally sweating at the sudden turn of event. He tries to reassure Yona, saying, "Hes not nervu." Harol worries, feeling only he is in this difficult spot. He thinks he would despise marrying someone like himself. Yona stands with her back turned, murmuring, "As for me." She blushes, admitting she was very much looking forward to Harol's face shows shock, processing her quiet confession. A servant approaches, asking about calling Yona by her name. The king confirms it's fine, as her family will call her Yona. Narration states their newlywed setting has already begun. Harol is stunned seeing Yona in a stunning gown, calling her beautiful. Yona blushes deeply, completely flustered by his genuine compliment. Harol looks equally shocked, realizing what he just said out loud. He sweats nervously, trying to play off his honest reaction. Yona looks away sternly, stating that if Hes lying, they should divorce. The scene shifts to a grand hall discussing wedding ceremony formality. Harol awkwardly explains his family situation is a bit special. Yona smiles softly, asking if they're in this together now. Harold laughs it off, acknowledging the absurdity of marrying the Demon King's daughter. They share a moment, both feeling like just ordinary people underneath it all. A stark text panel declares everything is a lie and God is cruel. The scene abruptly changes. Someone is calling out to wake Harold. A cheerful Yona greets him, asking if he's awake yet. Harold's eyes snap open, utterly bewildered by the sudden intimacy. Yona gently pats his head, wishing him a sweet good morning. She hops out of bed, cheerfully announcing she's already hungry. Harold sits there, completely speechless, processing the domestic scene. His hand touches the empty space beside him, a soft ah. Escaping, he clutches his head, overwhelmed, thinking he's just too happy. The magical quest book suddenly glows, displaying a sparkling congratulation. Over breakfast, Harold and Yona share a quiet, curious look. Harold asks Yona what's wrong, noticing her distant expression. The book's text notes the quest is proceeding smoothly, delighting God. They both stare at the book as it ominously continues, and there, a mysterious book floats with a glowing halo beneath it. The book opens, revealing a sparkling heart inside. A dark potion bottle tumbles across the floor. Harold and Yona receive their intermediate trial assignment. The enchanted book speaks, demanding they deepen their bond. Yona holds the book, while Harold looks skeptical. Someone uncorks the mysterious dark potion bottle. Harold examines the bottle with cautious curiosity. Harold discovers the bottle is completely empty inside. Yona jokes about forgetting distrusting the gods entirely. Harold carries heavy supplies, heading off to work. Harold says goodbye, leaving for his task. Harold suddenly stops, sensing something strange nearby. Harold in full armor spots Yona waiting at the door. Birds scatter from a rooftop under bright sky. Someone's footsteps approach slowly through the gra. A mysterious figure stands alone beneath an archway. Close-up reveals a stranger's face hidden in shadow. Harold panics, wildly screaming about something unexpected. Harold's body feels wrong, strangely small, like a child. Harold desperately calls Yona's name. Something's terribly wrong. Yona stares in complete shock at what happened. Yona stammers nervously, claiming she's completely fine. Yona covers her mouth while Harold worries about work. They stare at each other, both utterly confused. Yona stares blankly, wondering how to return things to normal. She frantically calls someone, asking about adult male safety protocol. A gentle hand touches Harold's cheek. Someone whispers, "Because it's you." Yona leans dangerously close, asking what he wants done to him. Her sparkling eye gleams. Opportunities like this rarely come around. Harold panics, stammering about work he still needs to finish. Yona grabs him fiercely. What matters more, her or his duty? A proclamation echoes. Today is officially declared a holiday. Harold sits drenched in sweat, completely overwhelmed by everything. Yona realizes she pushed too hard, looking down guiltily. She runs off, apologizing, promising to bring water quickly. Harold hears splashing water, his mind racing with confusion. A mysterious bottle sits waiting, grateful but not as a hero. Harold examines the object, recalling mentions of some trial. Faint mysterious text is engraved on the bottle's hidden bottom. He reads aloud. Opening it reveals the way back to normal. Yona bursts through the door, announcing Shez finally returned. Harold freezes, holding the bottle as Yona approach. She spots him hiding something behind his back suspiciously. Yona snatches the bottle away, cheerfully confiscating his secret. Her hand reaches out, demanding he must surrender it immediately. Harold suddenly confesses his happiness, grabbing her hands desperately. Yona's eyes widen in complete shock at his outburst. She holds him close, admitting she's dreamed of this repeatedly. Harold blushes, deeply struggling to find his next word. Harold expresses heartfelt gratitude towards Yona. Yona looks completely shocked and confused by his word. Yona kneels, asking about his feelings and mentioning death. Harold blushes, realizing something about their situation. They sit facing each other, discussing their thought. A close-up shows Yona hesitating before speaking. Yona smiles, knowingly understanding his hidden feeling. Harold is stunned, asking if this is the trial. Outside, Yona calls him out for hiding his true feeling. Yona's eyes soften, showing she understands him completely. Yona playfully threatens punishment for his teasing. A voice apologizes for keeping a secret hidden. Yona questions Harold about their fake newlywed life. Yona falls silent, processing his unexpected response. A hand touches a mysterious hidden object. Yona hugs Harold tightly, saying the truth is visible. Harold panics, begging Yona to stop and use word. Yona blushes, caught off guard by his reaction. They hold hands, Yona accepting even trivial feeling. Yona denies saying anything, looking flustered and surprised. Yona points out Harold always skips serious conversation. She claims opening his heart is too stimulating for him. Yona dramatically declares demons Don't confess love openly. Harold asks if they can stay like thee. Yona agrees, smiling softly at his quiet request. Child Harold grins, promising to say anything she wants to hear. Yona blinks in surprise, caught completely off guard. Harold explains it's unfair, only she bears this burden. Yona looks troubled, questioning whether such promises can be kept. Harold smiles brightly, declaring Hell protect her as the hero. Someone gently lifts Yona's chin, startling her completely. Yona blushes, furiously stammering at the intimate gesture, their pinky fingers locked together in a solemn promise. Farewell echoes through the stone cottage as someone depart. Yona leans close, whispering nervously against someone's ear. She holds Child Harold, asking if this embrace is acceptable. Yona looks down, shyly, cheeks burning with warmth. Harold murmurs he feels lonely, voice soft and vulnerable. Yona admits it's lonely without him during his work hour. Harold's eyes widen suddenly, calling her name in shock. Yona pulls him into a fierce, desperate embrace. The mysterious bottle erupts with blinding, magical light. A hand reaches out desperately, voice trailing off in disbelief. Adult Harold kneels before Yona, moved beyond word. Yona cries, declaring fiercely that next time is her turn. A locked door rattles as someone approaches from outside. A girl with a scythe smashes through the cottage wall. Yona and Harold freeze, eyes wide with utter shock. The mysterious girl reaches out, whispering hero, softly. Her cold eye stares, growling, "You made my Yona cry." A fierce attack strikes suddenly, someone screaming kill in rage. Harold stares at a mysterious letter, completely stunned by its content. A desperate voice cries out, begging everyone to wait. An elf girl appears confused, wondering why she's suddenly here. A fierce girl with a scythe shouts for her sister urgently. The younger sister kneels, tearfully apologizing for destroying the house. Older sister scolds her, sternly demanding proper reflection on her action. Someone repairs the wall, noting breaking is easy, but fixing is hard. Harold smiles reassuringly, telling Yona everything's been handled smoothly. Harold mentions work resuming next week, but someone wants contact sooner. Harold offers to untie the rope binding the younger sister. The older sister reveals the request was already made before he offered. Rope lies discarded on the floor. Time for a fresh start. Harold kneels, formally introducing himself as Yona's husband, the hero. The older sister gazes at him, coolly requesting he remember her face. Suddenly, the older sister shouts, "Sister," startling everyone present. Harold apologizes, nervously worried he created an awkward first impression. The older sister clarifies the strange atmosphere isn't Harold's fault at all. Younger sister explains her sister barely talks to outsider. The younger sister nudges her sibling, urging her to introduce herself properly. Older sister's name is revealed. Niuni, Yona's elder sibling. Niuni always stays hidden indoors, looking painfully uncomfortable around strangers. The younger sister cheerfully claims they're actually very close sibling. Harold smiles warmly, mentioning sisters are lovely. He has no brother. Harold's eyes widen in shock. She's his sister-in-law. Now Harold stammers, calling Yona sister-in-law in shock. The newcomer cheerfully explains demon family naming custom. She invites them to sit, offering tea to ease tension. In the kitchen, she offers to help prepare wasabi for Yona. Yona's sister watches her with a concerned, knowing look. Over breakfast, she asks why her sister is here. Harold is stunned. She left the demon world for Yona stutters, struggling to explain her presence. Her sister gently presses, asking if she doesn't want to talk. Harold realizes she came worried, having not met his family. He suggests they visit the demon world, causing immediate panic. They discuss the need for a formal family meeting first. Harold admits he wanted to see where Yona grew up. Yona blushes, deeply flustered by his sincere curiosity. She shyly says she'll think about his request. Harold thanks her, making her steam with embarrassment. Yona's sister watches the affectionate exchange, unimpressed. She receives a troubling report about Yato Yato. In the demon realm, nobles discuss Yona refusing to return. Her sister angrily concludes Yona is being deceived by the hero. Text reveals humans are weak and their father was once tricked. She fears the hero aims to infiltrate the demon hierarchy. Clutching her cup, she resolves she must help her sister. She declares protecting her sister is her duty as the elder. Harold addresses her as Ni-san, prompting an invitation to stay. Harold cheerfully suggests a garden welcome party, seeking Yona's approval. Yona sternly warns the hero against speaking nonsense, questioning his confidence. A plan is revealed to expose the hero's true form to awaken Yona's awareness. Yona's sister Niuni watches with a determined, knowing expression. Harold grills meat outdoors while the sisters observe, one looking concerned. Yona smiles, recalling how her sister always thinks deeply and disagree. A close-up shows sizzling, perfectly grilled meat skewer. Yona eats with intense, sweaty enthusiasm, completely engrossed in the flavor. Harold declares he won't be swayed by grilled meat confusing Yona's sister. A dramatic, emphatic, absolutely fills the panel, stressing a point. Yona continues eating voraciously, cheeks full and satisfied. Harold offers more food, encouraging them to eat as much as they like. Newnie offers a special spice made with cotton for Yona to use freely. Yona takes a bite with the new spice, her expression shifting in surprise. Newnie explains the demon realm's poor food culture, prompting Harold's hospitality. Yona reacts violently to the spice, overwhelmed by its intense heat. Harold smiles, presenting even more delicious dishes to the table. Smoke billows from the cottage as someone inside calls out concern for Newnie. Empty plates are cleared, signaling the end of the hearty meal. Newnie sits alone, having eaten everything but the spice, as Harold mews. Newnie internally resolves to expose the hero's true nature and reject his charm. Yona leans heavily on Harold, who asks what's wrong as she acts strangely. Yona whispers a bad mouth operation plan directly into a confused Harold's ear. Yona blushes furiously, sweating and flustered after her whispered declaration. Harold looks utterly bewildered, asking if She's angry and calling this her true form. Harold cheerfully directs Yona towards the bathroom door. The scene shifts to a quiet, starry night outside the cottage. Yona and Newnie sit together, reminiscing about their childhood. Yona looks down, admitting today was a complete failure. Newnie playfully touches Yona's back, making her flinch. Newnie teases her sister for being so sensitive. Yona blushes, furiously calling her sister a bully. Newnie hugs Yona from behind, thanking her softly. Yona looks up, her expression softening with emotion. Newnie explains it took courage to see her sister outside her room. Newnie asks if Yona came all this way for her sake. Yona stammers, insisting it's obvious she did it for her sister. Newnie smiles warmly, saying only she can say such thing. Yona falls silent, looking conflicted and thoughtful. Newnie hesitates, then asks a difficult question. Yona looks down quietly, asking if she should go home. Newnie's eyes widen in surprise at the question. Newnie questions why Yona is so flustered, mentioning Harold. A thought bubble reveals Newnie's worry about Yona's feeling. The sisters are shown in cute, festive pajama. Harold looks on with a delighted, goofy expression. The sisters announce a pajama party, inviting Harold. Harold is shocked to learn Hez included in the fun. Newnie wonders if Yona truly wants to live with a hero. Newnie resolves to proceed, hoping for her sisters happen. A pillow soars through the air, initiating a chaotic battle. Harold and Yona wear matching outfits. She cheers his hit. Yona enthusiastically encourages her sister to join the pillow fight. Hands grapple fiercely over a pillow in a close-up struggle. Yona glares with intense determination after being struck first. She charges forward, shouting battle cries while swinging her weapon. Harold punches a pillow, declaring heroes are the demon clan's enemy. Under the stars, Yona vows to reveal her true nature tomorrow. A magical book glows, completing their matching outfits quests successfully. Morning light illuminates the cottage, smoke curling from the chimney. Breakfast dishes litter the table as conversation momentarily pause. Newnie nervously mentions urgent business she absolutely cannot avoid today. Harold and Yona listen as she apologizes for the sudden departure. She unexpectedly asks the couple to house sit, startling them both. Yona panics, exclaiming, "Hey!" With wide, shocked eye. Newnie smiles brightly, promising she will return very shortly. She dashes out the door, leaving Yona calling after her. 10 minutes pass in heavy, awkward silence. Harold and Yona sit stiffly at the table, avoiding eye contact. Yona's mind races, screaming internally about the unbearable quiet. Harold thinks about bridging the gap with his sister-in-law. He clenches his fist under the table, gathering courage. Harold breaks the tense silence, suggesting they take a walk. Yona stammers, mentioning her usual walk in the back mountain. Harold smiles, warmly eager to see the environment where Yona lived. Newnie glares, suspiciously demanding to know the hero's true intention. A bold plan is announced. Make the hero reveal his true feeling. They walk through a sunlit forest, admiring the beautiful light. Newnie admits she fears monsters outside but loves nature. Harold reassures her the small creature is harmless, then realizes humans fear monster. Newnie looks up in awe, softly saying, "Wow." Foxes appear, and Newnie tells them to go play. The foxes suddenly swarm Harold, who panics as Newnie watches flustered. She nervously urges him to shake the playful creatures off. Harold, relieved, exclaims, "Good," after escaping the fox. He smiles warmly, noting she finally smiled at him. Niuni reacts with stunned confusion, uttering a bewildered sound. They continue their journey with Niuni wondering if it was stimulating enough. An old imposing church looms ahead in the distance. Harold explains the path connects to the church ahead. Niuni notes the path is unused and overgrown. Harold cheerfully points out a large bridge beyond the church. Niuni struggles with her heavy weapon, calling out for Nui-san. Harold asks if she's okay. She complains the mountain path is tough. Frustrated, Niuni thinks the hero's narrow-mindedness is irritating. Harold smiles confidently, declaring everything is proceeding according to his plan. Niuni looks on with a worried expression, murmuring Nayui-san. Harold suggests taking a break, admitting he also wants to rest. Niuni reacts with a surprised, open-mouthed expression. He asks about a place to sit in the church, and Niuni apologizes for lying. Niuni mentions horseback riding is fun, breaking the quiet. Harold cheerfully suggests they all return together next time. Niuni thinks to herself, calling him an idiot for flying. Harold suddenly lifts Niuni into his arms, surprising them both. Niuni screams as Harold carries her toward the bench. The scene shows the vast, ruined interior of the old church. Sunlight streams through broken windows, illuminating the dusty space. Harold gently sets Niuni down, asking if her leg is okay. Niuni internally fumes, frustrated by the hero's confusing action. She admits she used to visit this church before her marriage. Niuni confesses friends called her gloomy, looking away sadly. Harold turns, revealing he has something has been wondering about. He explains he wants to build a new home in town. Niuni questions why as Harold looks down at his hand. He admits living here makes him feel guilty towards Yona. Harold says he realizes this makes her feel lonely. Niuni listens silently, her expression unreadable as he speaks. Suddenly, Niuni kneels shocked, calling him an idiot. A flashback shows young Yona always talking about the hero. Niuni confronts Harold, saying Yona's loneliness isn't about location. She insists it's about who is beside her, glaring intensely. Harold looks taken aback by her fierce emotional outburst. He hesitates, asking if that's really how Niuni turns away, frustrated, calling him a dense, gloomy person. She resolves internally not to leave her sister with him. Niuni returns home cheerfully, announcing her arrival to the empty cottage. She realizes Plan A failed and immediately shifts to Plan B. Harold searches for Yona, noting she hasn't returned yet from her walk. He suddenly senses something wrong, turning with a confused expression. A dramatic shock hits as something unexpected happens in the cottage. Harold collapses backward onto the floor, completely dazed and confused. Niuni pins him down, blushing furiously while forbidding anything weird. Harold's face shows pure shock, demanding to know why this is happening. Niuni rants about protecting Yona from any unfaithful hero antic. She declares victory, believing Shez successfully stopped his supposed intention. Niuni leans in close, promising adult satisfaction with a determined look. Meanwhile, another demon girl happily receives a long-awaited magazine shipment. She worries about those two left alone at the cottage together. Niuni approaches the cottage feeling guilty about her earlier mischief. She bursts in shouting about a scene, startling poor Harold completely. Niuni drags him somewhere, thinking he doesn't seem the proactive type. She begins removing her clothing, stealing her resolve for what comes next. Niuni leans dangerously close to Harold's face, both blushing intensely. A close-up reveals Niuni's serious, determined expression as she commits. Niuni freezes at the doorway, spotting something shocking on the floor. Harold lies pinned beneath her, both caught in a compromising position. Yona stands in the doorway, uttering a simple, devastating "ah." A trembling hand clenches, radiating barely contained fury and betrayal. Yona's silhouette looms ominously, while Niuni quivers in absolute terror. Niuni's body shakes uncontrollably as the consequences finally sink in. Niuni stammers, face flushed, realizing something terrible happened. She stands tall, insisting Harold would never do such thing. Her composure cracks, sweat beading on her trembling face. Footsteps echo as someone approaches with purpose. Niuni stutters, nervously unable to finish her thought. She questions her own judgment, even about her sister. Her mind races between conflicting thoughts about right and wrong. Harold desperately reaches out, begging her to wait. Niuni's eyes widen in shock at his sudden plea. He insists something must be wrong, defending Niuni's love for Yona. She trails off, uncertainty clouding her expression. Harold shouts, dramatically demanding punishment for himself. Niuni transforms, her demonic form emerging with sharp claw. Harold's terror is palpable as she looms over him. A mysterious door with strange symbols blocks their path. Someone sprints desperately toward the unknown. Niuni pounds on the door, screaming for Yusha. Chaos erupts with hearts and muffled sounds filling the air. Niuni's playful side emerges, enjoying the unexpected turn. Harold welcomes someone, his voice strained with emotion. A pointed question about self-touching hangs in the tension. One figure lies vulnerable while another watches intently. Guilt lingers in the air between them. Niuni promises to imprint the memory through physical sensation. Harold's thoughts drift to Yona, his wife, as the scenes shift. A fist strikes as someone demands the truth about identity. The horned girl blushes, feeling strangely flustered by 3. She grows bolder, wanting even more intensity from him. The cottage shakes with dramatic energy from inside. Silence falls over the stone walls of the home. She bows her head, apologizing sincerely for everything. Harold stands awkwardly while someone sleeps nearby. She questions why he would do something like that. Tears well as she wishes Yona would return. She fears Yona becoming hated and returning to Demon Realm. Harold listens silently, processing her vulnerable confession. She admits Yona is her only friend to confide in. Harold realizes Yona was taken away from her. She apologizes again for causing him trouble and worry. She's shocked he actually thought such a thing. She softly admits understanding Niuni's feelings somewhat now. Harold declares firmly he won't give up either. Her eyes widen at his mention of his precious wife. Shiz, confused by his words, not understanding fully. Harold smiles warmly, inviting her to visit anytime. He promises never to take away Niuni's only person. She suddenly notices something calling out for her sister. Yona appears, asking if they can't talk to Harold. Both Harold and the girl freeze in surprise. Harold grins, celebrating having 2 conversation partners now. Niuni shyly agrees, her face blushing at the conversation. Discussion reveals she's close with Harold, now shocking her. Later, she questions if the Princess Carrie was too much. Harold apologizes, sincerely asking how to make amend. Hands reach out slowly in a tense, silent moment. Niuni suddenly hugs Harold from behind, surprising him. She blushes, deciding to let the matter go this time. A magical book confirms they completed a hugging task. The scene shifts dramatically to a distant, ominous castle. Crows fly over the mansion, setting an eerie mood. Harold and Niuni approach the mansion through the wood. They check a map, carefully heading toward their destination. Suddenly, they finally arrive at the grand requested mansion gate. A crow caws loudly, adding to the spooky atmosphere. Harold reacts with visible surprise upon seeing the mansion. He introduces himself as the hero there for a request. Harold introduces Yona, commenting on the misty surrounding. He explains they're investigating strange noises reported at night. Harold mentions Yona's rare presence, suspecting monsters inside. Cracks on the wall hint at hidden secrets inside. Niuni enters the room, amazed by the spacious interior. Harold remarks on the mansion's impressive former grandeur. He points out the dining hall, continuing to explore. Harold bravely volunteers to check ahead for any zombie. Niuni panics, calling out for Yona in fear. Niuni psyches herself up, muttering about striking first before getting scared. Harold notices her nervousness, asking if she's uncomfortable with this kind of place. Niuni looks up, suddenly her expression shifting to surprise at something. She forces a confident smile, claiming she's actually quite skilled at the... Harold tells her to wait outside while he scouts ahead quickly. Niuni stands alone outside as crows caw ominously overhead. She presses against the window, declaring she's going into... Something crashes through the glass with tremendous force. Niuni screams in absolute terror at the sudden intrusion. Harold catches her as she clings to him, mentioning thunder. They walk cautiously down the decaying corridor together. Harold warns her about the rotting floor while holding his lantern. Niuni's face flushes red, her heart racing unexpectedly. Harold glances back at her with a gentle, knowing smile. She grabs his arm tightly, refusing to let go. Harold tells her to hold on, confused by his own feeling. She clings closer, thinking about how Yona trusted him so deeply. A close-up reveals Harold's pulse quickening at her proximity. Harold blushes, feeling genuinely happy despite the dangerous situation. Niuni calls him the worst while he looks terrified. She reaches toward him, blushing intensely while telling him to stay still. Harold's eyes widen in shock, calling her unexpectedly cute. He rationalizes this feeling is completely different from his love for Yona. Harold feels confident, now asking about Yona's favorite song. Niuni suddenly screams, startled by something unexpected happening. Harold reassures Niuni about the rain sound, but she's uneasy. She clings to him, sensing something's felt off since earlier. A finger pushes open a creaking door slowly. Niuni points, excitedly drawing Harold's attention to something surprising. She calls out Harold's name as he approaches a doorway. Harold looks worried, asking Yona to please look at the wind blew open the broken windows in this abandoned room. Harold admits knowing the truth would be terrifying. Niuni agree. A tattered figure stands in the doorway. Someone whispers relief. A barefoot steps through the doorway into the room. Text reveals she was always lying on the bed. She died still dreaming impossible dreams she could never have. There she hated the world. She hated God for her fate. A haunting question lingers. Why am I still here? She never knew romance dying without ever experiencing love. Her skin roughened and she couldn't even face her reflection. She longed for heaven trapped in this empty mansion alone, and then she thought of something dark and desperate. She spots a newlywed couple arriving through the broken window. A creepy face appears mocking their fake marriage with glee. Harold realizes something's wrong. They're one step too late. A dramatic announcement echoes through the cursed mansion hall. The ghostly figure clenches her fist, demanding they leave it to her. Niuni screams as supernatural force erupts around them violently. The ghost closes in fast, distance shrinking as terror peak. Niuni dramatically plays violin, declaring her big performance has begun. Harold holds her awkwardly as she apologizes for the sudden embrace. A mysterious figure watches from the shadows, pleased they're finally alone. Niuni blushes, furiously embarrassed about causing trouble during his work. Harold carries her through the hallway, explaining the new play's setting. He insists he invited her, not wanting Yona to feel jello. Harold pauses, reconsidering his words with a troubled expression. He declares firmly that he will protect Yona no matter what. Niuni's eyes widen, shocked by his sudden, serious declaration. She clings to him, nervously asking if Hez truly not afraid. Harold reassures her, asking what he should do if ghosts appear. He finishes quietly adding, as her husband with conviction. Niuni's lip trembles, moved by his sincere words about Yona. She looks up at him, blushing, saying she feels safe now. A dark silhouette watches from the doorway as Harold walks away. The mysterious girl claps enthusiastically, shouting bravo from the shadow. She monologues about love being layers of trust like millefeuille. The dark-haired girl strikes a dramatic pose, declaring this is romance. Harold turns around completely confused by the sudden interruption. Niuni tears up, thanking Harold and Yona with genuine emotion. The church bells ring as congratulations shower the newlywed. A distant castle sparkles under the sunlight on the cliffside. Harold stands with his sword, looking up with renewed determination. Sunlight streams through the windows, casting hopeful rays across the floor. The cottage sits peacefully under open skies, a new chapter beginning. Investigation complete. Strange noises vanished entirely. Harold and Niuni relax outside, discussing demolition progrès. They wonder if monsters simply relocated elsewhere, their hands brushed together. Awkward tension rise. Niuni blushes, teasing about Harold's flattering outfit. Harold's eyes widen, caught completely off guard. He calls Yona cute. She deflects shyly. Niuni cheerfully sends him off to work. Alone again, loneliness creeps back in heavily. Suddenly Shez buzzing. Beauty salon diet, new clothes, nail art, and moose rolls, full makeover mode activated. Harold interrupts her frantic preparations, apologizing awkwardly. Niuni grows suspicious. Why would a hero date? He admits taking the job so she wouldn't be lonely. No more strange tricks, he says firmly. Nervously, Harold asks if she wants to go somewhere. Niuni screams absolutely yes. Blushing uncontrollably, he grins, asking her to keep tomorrow free. Shez, overjoyed, wishing head asked sooner. At the royal report meeting, someone gasps. Date. Harold kneels before the king, stammering nervously. The king fumes. Quest completion comes first. You fool, are you serious about dating? Harold sweats, frozen under the king's fury. This isn't a child's first love. Harold apologizes helplessly. The king tells Harold he must be serious about his quest. Harold listens silently, a bead of sweat on his brow. The king explains the world's destruction could happen at any time. He kneels, pleading with Harold to save their world. Harold agrees with a startled, determined shout. The king hesitates, feeling it's cruel to burden him alone. He asks if Harold knows how to handle women. Harold nervously wonders how much Yona likes him. The king scolds him, saying that level of affection is weak. He dramatically commands Harold to steal a kiss as a hero. The king announces has prepared a teacher for Harold. A figure's footsteps approach with a confident stride. A hand dramatically sweeps aside a curtain. A stylish, white-haired man introduces himself as Joe Micaiah. He winks, promising to meet the king's expectation. The king approves while Harold looks on bewildered. Harold stares, completely stunned by the newcomer's appearance. Joe declares his presence should put everyone at ease. Harold panics, asking about Joe's missing pant. Joe gets uncomfortably close, demanding to be called teacher. Harold introduces himself as a hero, then a student. Joe says Harold must feel the world's truth is thin. He smiles, about to reveal a shocking secret. Joe lectures Harold on strict rules for children's clothing. The king watches, utterly confused by this bizarre turn. King declares someone the nation's top-ranked handsome man. A confident blonde man smirks, his skills and popularity unmatched. Another character sweats, nervously calling the ranking suspicious. A close-up reveals shock. This person was prepared for him. The blonde man grins enthusiastically, calling out to his brother. A cloaked figure vows to win Yona's heart for the world. A carriage approaches a grand castle on the day of the date. Inside, a girl marvels at the castle, feeling nostalgic. The carriage wheel jolts, prompting a question about the capital. Girl's face shows sudden surprise, her hair whipping. She sits beside a man looking shy amidst floating rows. He smiles, gently warning her. Leaning out is Dangeroo. Inside him, he pulls her closer back against his chest. Her eye widens in shock at the sudden closing. She stammers, flustered by the intimate position. Then she wonders why the atmosphere feels so different today. He looks away, attributing it to being nervous. His visibly tense, sweating and breathing heavily. A teacher scolds him for intentionally touching her body. He defensively asks if body contact is absolutely forbidden. The teacher explains trust changes what's acceptable between people. Girl thinks he doesn't seem to dislike her touch. He reflects that his past self would never have done the. A detailed date plan is shown, practiced for day. A date guidebook is presented as the ultimate tool. Harold cries, thanking his teacher for the important book. The scene shifts to a bustling European-style city square. A cheerful horned girl greets Harold with a bright smile. She playfully asks what kind of style he like. Next, she looks thoughtful, saying she's a bit torn. Harold is overwhelmed, saying everything looks great in the shop. He nervously asks if he can try something on. The girl is shocked, absolutely certain it will suit him. She tells him to wait, encouraging him to be brave. Harold muses that cute styles would suit her too. A guidebook suggests leaving cute clothes out to encourage a date. Harold announces Hez ready, surprising everyone in the room. The girl models a dress, asking Harold what he think. She mentions with a blush that it's a little tight. Harold is completely stunned, blushing and speechless. She shyly says it matches his clothes quite well. For a moment, she leans in close, asking for his honest opinion. Harold struggles, trying to give a sincere compliment. A close-up shows hands gently adjusting the fabric. Harold looks worried, saying he's concerned as her husband. The girl looks up, her eyes wide with surprise. She blushes deeply, holding her chest in shine. Harold thanks the assistant, deciding to wear it as She notes that Today's Harold seems a little different. Harold asks if it's strange as she peeks shyly. Harold confidently leads Niyuni out, telling her to leave everything to him today. He stands on a balcony, vowing to make this the best date ever for her. Joe praises Harold's smooth start from the shadows, calling it a good beginning. Niyuni blissfully eats a fried snack, humming with delight. Harold smiles warmly as she declares the food delicious. They stroll through a historic square, discussing the unchanged classic taste. Harold internally credits his pre-date research for this successful moment. He looks at her with a soft, affectionate expression. Newnie suddenly looks up, calling his name with a surprised look. Harold panics, noticing something is stuck on her cheek. He gently wipes it off, laughing that it used to be the other way around. Niyuni blushes, deeply stunned by his gentle gesture. A magical guidebook suddenly pops open, startling her. The book declares a quest complete. Clear the borrowed item task. Harold nervously asks Niyuni to lower her volume and focus on the date. The book enters silent mode, communicating only with light and vibration. Harold suggests they restart and regain their composure. Niyuni suddenly screams in shock, pointing at something in a shop window. Inside is a massive, expensive nightmare dragon figurine from 20 years ago. She then spots an ultra-rare queen bee phantom model, gasping in awe. Niyuni explains its rarity due to a manufacturing dispute and low production number. Harold excitedly realizes a different color variant must have been made later. She confirms the mass production tech from that era is still used today. Harold suggests exploring the back of the shop, which seems even more amazing. As they look, a monstrous roar suddenly shakes the entire store. Harold gets excited about mixing patterns to create something original. He studies the guidebook intently, checking off understanding partner's preference. Leaving the shop, the girl marvels at finding such a wonderful place. She laughs, saying he was way too excited back there. They rent a swan boat, following the guide's advice to balance rest and activity. The girl squeals with delight. The legendary swan boat actually exists. Harold smirks, mysteriously saying the real fun hasn't even started yet. Suddenly, a magnificent fountain show erupts around them in sparkling arc. Harold explains couples who watch this together get good luck once daily. She blushes, heart pounding. Does that mean people are watching them as a couple? Gazing at the city lights, She softly thanks him for researching Aldai. He casually mentions tomorrow might snow, catching her completely off guard. A confident, knowing smile spreads across Harold's face. She giggles, nervously calling his weather comment just a joke. Harold looks genuinely happy, his expression warm and content. He asks gently if Shez having fun. She beams with pure joy. Suddenly, he credits his teacher's guidebook, already planning stuffed animal making next time. Meanwhile, someone watches from the shadows with an unsettling grin. Joe Micaiah bursts in, dramatically calling out Harold's name. Joe praises Harold's impressive practical dating skills enthusiastically. As his teacher Joe declares, his nose is raised high with pride, but his expression suddenly darkens. Something ominous shift. Joe reveals a chilling truth. Perfection in love is impossible by nature. True love only gets tested when disaster strikes unexpectedly. Joe reaches out, creepily demanding to witness their love firsthand. Adorable chibi animals appear in a whimsical, decorative interlude. Niuni admires Harold's outfit as they stroll through town together. Harold scratches his head modestly, mentioning his crafting skill. Niuni offers to get him anything he wants, amazed by his talent. Harold announces dinner reservations and calls for a carriage. He walks ahead eagerly while Niuni watches him leave. Niuni stands alone, confused by his sudden departure. She dreams of wandering town together like real lover. Someone calls out to her, wishing this perfect day never end. 3 shady men approach, commenting she looks cute all alone. Niuni glances back, sensing something uncomfortable behind her. The men invite her to come play with them instead. Niuni politely declines, saying she's waiting for someone. The men close in, touching her aggressively despite her protest. They mockingly ask where this noble lady came from alone. One man grabs her arm, roughly demanding she stop ignoring them. Niuni winces in pain as his grip tightens painfully. Suddenly, Harold appears, seizing the thug's wrist from behind. Harold's cold eyes demand he release her immediately. The thug shouts angrily at this unexpected interruption. Harold apologizes to Niuni for arriving late. She whispers his name. One companion points in shock, recognizing something terrifying. He realizes Harold is the hero. The scarred face confirms it. The thugs panic, questioning if heroes even date women. A guard appears, shouting at them for harassing citizens. The thugs flee. Harold looks worried, muttering about someone intending to cause harm. A violent clash erupts. Someone gets struck hard. Niuni screams Harold's name in pure terror. Bystanders rush over, asking if everyone's all right. A crude voice mocks Niuni's appearance with vulgar comment. Niuni's eyes blaze with fury. She's absolutely livid. Her expression shifts to stunned shock at what's happening. Harold calmly says, "He's fine, but something's clearly wrong." Harold's demeanor turns ice cold. He won't tolerate insults toward Niuni. His eyes narrow, dangerously beckoning the offender closer. The troublemaker grins nervously, sweat dripping down his face. Harold snaps, asking if they think Hez some kind of fool. Niuni's eyes widen. She's witnessing something shocking unfold. Harold launches forward with a devastating punch. A bystander in black stumbles back, completely bewildered. Harold's expression turns cold and unreadable. He demands to know why the other person isn't approaching. The man in black panics, apologizing profusely. Guards announce arrests for assault, theft, and other crime. A tearful close-up. Someone's clearly shaken by the chow. A quiet lamppost glows in the evening park. Silence after the storm. Harold sits on a bench, face buried in his hands in shame. He keeps apologizing while Niuni questions why he's sorry. The restaurant was fully booked. Everything fell apart tonight. Niuni defends Harold while he laments this terrible date ending. Harold clutches his face, ashamed of showing anger despite the guidebook forbidding it. Niuni stares wide-eyed, softly apologizing for something. She blushes deeply, letting out a quiet sigh of relief. Harold gasps in shock as Niuni reaches toward his injured face. She embraces him tightly, saying he looks more upset than she do. Niuni smiles warmly, recalling how brave he was earlier. She tells him he was truly cool. Harold sweats nervously. Her eyes shimmer as she whispers he protected her like a real hero. Harold buries his face in shame, but Niuni calls it the best date ever. Niuni steps forward, confidently calling his name with determination. She stands glowing under the lamplight, declaring it's not over yet. Sitting together, Niuni promises tonight will become the best memory. Harold slowly reaches his hand toward her face tenderly. A bright streak shoots into the dark sky. Fireworks launching. Spectacular fireworks burst overhead in dazzling white explosion. Under the sparkling sky, Niuni kisses Harold softly on the cheek. They sit together on a bench, watching the magnificent display. The magical guidebook opens, glowing with mysterious light. A keyhole symbol appears radiating brilliant energy outward. The book trembles violently, pages fluttering with power. Quest complete. Chapter 1 ends. Chapter 2 begins now. Harold stands alone among trees, fireworks illuminating the night. A sinister, white-haired figure grins, having witnessed their love. Fireworks continue blazing across the endless dark sky. A mysterious figure steps forward, claiming the fireworks as tribute. Niuni's feet walk through grass, leaving the chaotic date behind. A masked figure celebrates fireworks, announcing Chapter 2 begins now. Niuni clutches her shirt nervously, heart racing with anticipation. She stands before a mysterious door, whispering it's finally here. Harold grins, warmly inviting her to visit anytime she wants. A cone-hatted character spirals into anxious thoughts about social interaction. Niuni suddenly bursts into frustrated tears, overwhelmed by everything. A door creaks open with dramatic tension filling the air. Harold and Niuni cheerfully welcome their guest with bright smile. Niuni freezes, completely confused by the unexpected turn of event. Steam rises from fresh coffee beside a slice of cake. Niuni beams, excitedly gushing about the freshly baked chocolate cake. Harold smiles, genuinely asking if she's recovered from earlier. Niuni pauses, thoughtfully processing his kind words carefully. Three gather at the table, discussing special chocolate ingredients together. Niuni mentions chew and chocolate piecing something together. The scene continues with the next story beat. A character dramatically announces cable chew chocolate with intense passion. Harold asks if Niuni traveled straight from the demon realm today. She holds up a bottle, calling it a spicy souvenir gift. Massive crashing sounds erupt from outside, shaking the entire building. Harold scratches his head, sheepishly apologizing for the disturbance. The girls reassure him. Older sister's worrying means nothing serious here. Harold reflects how Niuni feels warm and fluffy since their date. Two hands reach toward each other across the table gently. Yona blushes, deeply looking shy and flustered about something. Harold laughs warmly, clearly enjoying this moment with her. Chibi characters celebrate, wildly cheering for the happy couple. Yona looks thoughtful, touching her chin in contemplation. Yona asks if she won't be returning to the demon realm. Cute creatures lounge on a couch, discussing their uncertain future. Yona's expression turns sad, mentioning her father's poor health. Harold's eyes widen in shock at this unexpected new Yona's sister, appears confused, wearing headphones and looking concerned. They discuss Yona's father's drinking problem and unhealthy lifestyle. Someone's father is hiding away with bottles, refusing to show his illness. Harold panics and suggests bringing a healer to help. Yona's sister protests, claiming their family has been healthy for centuries. She angrily refuses to let Yona be sold off to anyone. Harold tries explaining they have good intentions, but she won't listen. The guidebook detects the awkward tension and offers cake as distraction. Yona's sister suddenly appears, catching them completely off guard. The guidebook reveals Harold's hero identity and Yona's demon princess statue. Chapter 1 officially clears with a sparkling congratulations message. Both Harold and Yona stare in shock at this revelation. Harold stammers, realizing Chapter 1 has actually been completed. The guidebook notes their bond has deepened significantly already. It warns that Chapter 2 will bring much greater challenge. The guidebook instructs them to focus entirely on the next quest. Chapter 2 begins as the mysterious page slowly turns forward. The guidebook reveals a bold new quest about asking for her hand. Harold and Niuni are stunned into silence by the book's message. The book's single eye closes, ending its cryptic pronouncement. They walk away, leaving the strange book lying on the ground. A nervous Harold suggests they visit her hometown to meet her father. Niuni sweats, profusely overwhelmed by this sudden massive plan. She gasps in shock. A new quest has been pinpointed for them.